Okay, here's the deal. For the last 24 hours or so, there has been a lot of speculation and then some reporting from first the Bulwark and then the Daily Beast, and now larger news organizations are picking it up, that Donald Trump is looking to push Kristi Noem out of DHS. But before we all start dancing in the streets, I think we need to look at the fact that there's probably more going on here. First off, this is what the Bulwark had to say yesterday.
Be telling DHS Secretary Kristi Noem you're fired, and that could be happening relatively soon. That's what I'm hearing from former DHS officials in contact with their former colleagues at ICE and at DHS, who say that Donald Trump is sort of doing end-of-year reviews, and Kristi Noem could be one of the casualties of that. There is some question about how much Trump likes her performance and how much this is also about administration officials that have grown tired of Corey Lewandowski, the old Trump hand, serving as the special government employee at DHS, and her and Kristi Noem and Lewandowski have a close relationship. He's a chief advisor for her. So there's that part of the story. On Thursday evening, I reached out to Corey Lewandowski and I told him about the story. He said that none of this is true, that her job's not in jeopardy and that people are not frustrated with him. Interestingly enough, just the next day on Friday, I heard from former DHS officials that ICE and DHS officials were telling them that not only is she not signing memos anymore, but that she could be out really soon. There's that intrigue. There's also a Republican governor who could be a candidate to replace her. That and more in my latest issue of Huddled Masses. This is Adrian Carrasquillo. Hope you'll check it out.
So obviously, I encourage you to go read all of Adrian's piece in the Bulwark. It is one of their subscriber-only pieces. It came out late on December 6th, and by late yesterday, December 7th, the Daily Beast was also echoing similar reporting. And then this morning, I see it. It's everywhere. The Daily Beast piece gives a little bit more context, explaining that Republican governor who may move into the DHS position is potentially Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, which on the surface you may be like, oh, he might not be as bad. He seems fairly benign or whatever. But I think that there's more going on here. And in fact, I was concerned enough about it to be texting with my friend, independent journalist Miranda Kazos yesterday and this morning. And I'm just going to continue to boost her journalism because she is often reporting about these issues weeks, if not months, before other people are, particularly when it comes to Kristi Noem. She has spent months and months doing groundbreaking investigative reporting, and like many small independent women journalists, her work is lifted by larger organizations, by male journalists with a large platform, and she does not get the credit and attention she deserves. So I'll just continue to talk her up because I learn an awful lot from her. And in fact, she was reporting on this way back in November. She was saying, hey guys, word on the street is that Kristi Noem is going to get pushed out.
The patients. Kristi Noem will not stay in this office. She is not sophisticated enough, and I can tell prosecutors are getting close enough on a trail of enough of these people. My goal would be to have her out by next year, leave her in 2025. But remember, whenever she does go, whenever the rift within the women in this administration happens, she will be replaced with somebody much more methodical and intelligent.
And this, I think, is the bigger story, which is why, one, you should be following Miranda on Substack and on TikTok. Project 2025 doesn't want women in positions of power. They want women completely subservient. They also don't want any people of color in power. They want white men in power. And I had wondered way back at the beginning, my particular area of interest is obviously agriculture. And so when Brooke Rollins got appointed to the USDA, she's an attorney from Texas, a Trump loyalist, no experience or qualification in agriculture whatsoever. I was like, this is weird. How long is this going to last? They really want a woman in charge of agriculture? From everything we know about Project 2025, they really want a woman in charge? And I think Miranda brings the right perspective. Women were placed in positions, and I think also people of color placed in positions in this regime to make it slightly more palatable, but they were never, for the rest of us, right? But it was never intended to be permanent. These were folks they're going to phase out in order to put in white men who are far more intelligent, far more insidious. It's that putting the frog in the pot of water and slowly turning the temperature up, right? They knew that if they just across the board appointed white men in every single position, that we were going to be like, well, that's suspicious. That's pretty obvious what you're doing. And I agree. I agree again with Miranda here that Kristi Noem is doing too many things that are too overt in a way that gets the judicial system activated and also gets the populace activated. She is very much a caricature of a person, right? There's a reason people call her Ice Barbie. There's a reason that she's mocked and ridiculed, right? The same with Brooke Rollins, the level of incompetence where Rollins said that they were going to, take disabled people and elderly folks on Medicaid and they were going to work our farm fields because all of the ag laborers are being snatched by ICE. She was like, oh, just make Medicaid recipients do that. Just make your grandma in a memory care facility go work in the fields in order to get her Medicaid. It's that level of just like ridiculousness in these figures that I don't know how much it was strategic and I don't know how much it was just, the nature of a kakistocracy. But these folks were always going to be pushed out because to some extent of their ridiculousness, but their willingness to do whatever Donald Trump wanted at the beginning, their willingness to do unpopular and illegal things right out of the gate because they were so loyal to Donald Trump. That's why they were useful in this period in time. But I agree with Miranda. I agree with some of the other reporting that we are going to see more and more of these women pushed out. And I do think it's likely that Kristi Noem, based on what I'm reading here, it's likely that Kristi Noem is going to get pushed out sooner rather than later, especially after Miranda's groundbreaking reporting about Kristi Noem and the $220 million of government money that she's, right? Miranda reported on that for many months. And it wasn't until ProPublica and Josh Kaplan printed it. Again, no credit to Miranda whatsoever. I'm still going to say I hope she gets a copyright attorney to investigate that. It wasn't until a major publication picked it up that I think now Donald Trump has that ammunition to push her out. But I don't think that we should be dancing in the streets over this. I don't think that we should be crowing because the plan is to replace her with somebody who is more insidious and more effective, will do all of the kind of terrible, awful things that Donald Trump wants, but in ways that are more sophisticated without triggering so much tremendous public response and without having to interface with the court system so much. They're going to try and advance their plan every way. We are trying to fight back and defend democracy the whole time that we're doing that. They are still trying to advance their terrible, awful, fascist Project 2025 plan. I've just seen too many people the last 24 hours that are like, woohoo, Kristi Noem, Ice Barbie's getting pushed out. Yeah, she's terrible. She's awful. She's not going to be completely pushed out. She's still going to do terrible things for the regime. Whether she gets pushed back to South Dakota doing terrible things there, or whether she gets put somewhere else in a position of subservience. Because again, they want white men to run everything in this country. Project 2025 has never been a secret. It's never been a secret, y'all. We had an awful lot of time to read through it. I know that it's a big slog, but it's worth reading to understand. Actually, you know what? There's this helpful little chart about Project 2025. Maybe I'll go post it over on my Patreon, on my public page, so that people can read it. But please understand, they are going to be transitioning out, whether through scandal or whatever other means, women and people of color. And while we may be tempted to take a deep breath and be like, that's a sign of their failure, and we can just relax a little bit and we cannot be so vigilant. No, they take that as a sign. They believe that is them advancing their cause. We got to be on high alert. We got to have our head on a swivel. We have to continue to organize and resist. This news, this potential of Kristi Noem getting pushed out, this does not mean that they're giving up and laying down. This does not mean that DHS, Border Patrol, ICE is going to do less terrible things. Coast Guard is already under part of DHS. They just tried to take a Coast Guard helicopter away from the fishing town of Newport, Oregon, and a court order got it returned. There's speculation that they're going to try and merge DHS with the Department of Defense, which they call the Department of War, because this regime is trying to wage war against Americans, against immigrants. They're trying to wage war within our own borders against us, the people. So just be aware of what's happening. We can't be naive now. We have to keep organizing and make sure that every action they take invokes a backlash. Every action they take has got to backfire on them. So how can we use this? How can we use this to our benefit? Because they really think that this is for theirs.